Isn't it amazing, by the way, that this is the time everyone has decided that they want to barbecue and really just visit the parks and just start living their best lives outside and appreciate nature
Oh,
for
I
some reason?
fully expect to come out of this quarantine with a six pack. I want to be able to flex my abs. I'm sorry. I want to not have to flex my abs for my abs to show. That's how ripped
Hell
I want
yeah.
to be by the end of this.
Jeez.
You go in looking like Chris Evans before the super soldier serum, and then you step out looking like Jason Momoa with all the tattoos and all the glory. Right?
Definitely not.
Garbage in, garbage out.
What's up, shitheads, and everyone else in between? I didn't really say anything before that, so that's going to be kind of weird. Welcome to what is going to be the official, quote unquote, pilot episode for the Gigo show for Garbage In, Garbage Out. I'm one of your hosts, Kelton, and joining me today on the ones and twos is my amazing partner, Devon. How's it going?
What's up, bitches?
Okay, that's that typical high energy flair that we're trying to bring to things. But more importantly, and the reason that y'all are probably actually tuning into this, if you're not coming from the Psychic Dolphin Garage universe, is because we have today the one, the only, the amazing AntiGrav. How's it going, buddy?
It's going great, brother. Nice to be on again, at least on a voice chat with you over the internet. It's fantastic. Yeah. It's always a fun time.
He has so graciously decided to come and visit my humble abode, and so I don't exactly have the same level of prowess here that Grav has. So it's a little bit like cavemen discovering fire. So we'll see how this goes, and hopefully I don't burn everything down.
No, you should be fine. I got you covered, brother.
Okay, fire extinguisher in hand. This week we are going to be covering one of the things that I think either have people talking in the past, but will have people talking in the future. Once, of course, we all shut the fuck up finally about Tiger King, and that's the movie Birds of Prey. Awkward silence ensues. I think that's a pretty good in general feedback response.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No. That's completely fine. What we try and do on the show is basically look at one thing that I think is a important piece of pop culture. And unfortunately, sometimes you strike when the iron's hot, and other times you strike when it's dead cold. And I really thought that with Birds of Prey coming on to video on demand, it was going to really rocket up the charts, and they would start the controversy all over again. But unfortunately, Netflix had other plans for us, which is, I guess, fortunate for our, in general, sense of national unity during this quarantine time, because this film really divided people right on down the middle. What did y'all, just in general, before we dive in too deep into things, what did y'all think about this movie?
So I will say on the onset that if you watch this movie, but let's say you only stuck around for about an hour, or I mean, it's kind of a short movie. But if you stuck around for like maybe the first half, I can see you thinking that it's not good. However, I came out of it, like I remember complaining about the movie halfway through, and then I came out of it, and my final, like one of my final words as the credits were rolling was, yeah, no, that was great. And I mean, we'll definitely dive into it as we go over the plot and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, it's a wonderful mess of a film, and it's very interesting coming from Suicide Squad, because this is the direct sequel to Suicide Squad. You know, I recently watched Suicide Squad in preparation for this movie, which I don't know if we're going to talk about it, but coming into this one, I was very pleasantly surprised. I feel like they took the same exact gamble that they did with Suicide Squad in this Birds of Prey movie, but it worked this time. And I mean, we'll definitely get into the reasons why it worked, but it's just so weird and jarring to see.
It really is one of those movies of where if you were to look at part one versus part two, it has this incredible tonal shift. And as far as my own personal beliefs on the matter are, I think it's a remarkable improvement, but I'm not sure exactly. What about you, Devon? What did you think about it?
I mean, it's definitely a lot better than Suicide Squad. We also rewatched it before, diving into this. Um, but and the first part of it was really slow. I wasn't too impressed, but after she starts getting into the action scenes, it definitely went up like five points.
Well,
yeah, I
mean,
I
it's
can
always
actually
nice.
agree to that. Yeah.
I think the turning point for me is pretty much the police scene
Yeah.
that takes place. Is that from the moment when you have this weird confetti everywhere, smoke everywhere, attack on, or I'm sorry, assault on Precinct 13 style sequence that takes place with Harley Quinn. It kind of just goes all over the place.
She finally gets her bat again.
Yeah.
Reunited. Weirdly enough, this movie seemed to make a lot of the internet bros very mad for the SJW propaganda of demanding that Harley Quinn just simply wear short shorts instead of basically just underwear and fishnets. And that's what they were blaming for one of the major reasons that this film didn't make money. Not, that the nation was gearing up for a pandemic whatsoever.
I went to the movie theaters in February around the time of this release, and our original plan was to go see Birds of Prey. And then at the last second, I started seeing the reviews for Sonic the Hedgehog come out, and them saying it was an amazing movie, or at least a great kids movie. And I was like, what? I am down to see a good Sonic the Hedgehog movie, because we rarely ever get a good Sonic the Hedgehog game. And this was literally like maybe 2 weeks before the pandemic broke out. But even then, I remember just a general unease in the mall. Like the malls, like I remember saying to my wife when we went to the mall that last time that we were like, I think this is probably the last time we're gonna go to the mall, because I think this was the end of February going into March, and there was just a general like uneasiness amongst the public to the point where like mall traffic went down even on a nice day, which was really weird. So I opted to I elected to see Sonic just because I don't really feel that any of the trailers or any of the hype behind it really caught on with me per se. And I think there's just been a big, huge superhero fatigue, like I saw Endgame in theaters, but then I missed out on Spider-Man. And then like there's
Endgame seems to be like the turning point for a lot of people of where they're like, all right, and I'm done. Okay, cool. Thanks. It was pretty nice to bookend it this way. I'm going to move on to quote unquote real movies now.
Yeah, I agree. I think just I don't know how these movies are still making money, if I'm being honest.
Well, I mean, Harley Quinn, or I'm sorry, Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn, to use its formal name, it didn't really make all that much money. And so I think we're starting to see that it's not quite pandemic proof as a movie genre.
I mean, it's also a DC film. So.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I think it's not. The problem is that DC is so flip-floppy in terms of quality. And I think a lot of people don't measure, and like eventually I'll come out with like a ranking list of like my top of like how I rank the DC films. But I feel like when people watch a DC film, they give it the excuse of like, hey, it's DC, so if it's like a really good DC movie, it's like an average Marvel movie. You know what I'm saying? So it's
definitely graded on a curve there.
Yeah, so I think at this point, DC really needs to keep hitting it out of the ballpark and then getting the SJWs mad where they kind of controlled the narrative versus coming out with like, I don't know, if I'm being honest with you, I don't think this movie can produce good trailers. I don't think it's marketable. It really isn't. Like, you either hypersexualize Harley Quinn in the marketing or you just don't. And I think that the SJWs carrying that rage into the movie theaters, they only saw what they wanted to see. I mean, for example, and this is kind of like how Reddit works and echo chambers work, but when you go into your own sort of echo chamber, I used to be a big fan of like the TV show Big Brother, for example. And I would go on the subreddit for Big Brother, and they'd be like, yo, did you catch that moment where one of the contestants was looking at one of the like guest acts like really sexily? I think he's actually gay or bi, and he doesn't really like the girl that he's in a romance with in the house. But then you watch the episode and it's like, oh, there's nothing there. They literally just talked and that was it. You see what I'm saying? Like, you go into these things with this like warped perception, and it like completely influences how you view the film. And I think that that's where the general outrage went to, because I mean, there wasn't
Harley
sexy
Quinn
parts.
voted for Bernie. Come on, man. Right?
That was like a 2-second moment. That was literally a 2-second moment.
It lingered longer on the voted for Bernie than any other thing.
Yeah, and it wasn't even that great. It wasn't like she completely freeze framed it and did like a Quicksilver-esque moment where she walks up to the camera and just goes, yeah, so I voted for Bernie Sanders because of this, that. You know, that's what it made it seem like, almost like a Scott Pilgrim versus the world-esque moment. And then you actually watch the movie and no, she literally mentions that for like a second. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess in general, this film, we all enjoyed it. It didn't quite have the big hit success and pop culture resonance that I think a lot of the fans were hoping for, and certainly what Warner Brothers was hoping for. And that's why they pretty much pulled the plug and they decided to release it early on VOD because theaters literally could not be stocking people full in them if they tried. It was banned.
Yeah, I don't think people don't know who Birds of Prey is. Like, I mean, that's why Batman versus Superman was called Batman versus Superman and not Batman versus, right? And not World's Finest.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just doesn't. Birds of Prey carries no weight. They tried a Birds of Prey TV show in the 2000s, and that got no one watching. You know what I'm saying? Like, Birds of Prey isn't even a top. Like, I don't think it's like a top 5 comic book seller either. So, I mean, I understand that they're trying to broaden their base and stuff, but to expect like a whole new franchise to come out of this is just, even going into it before having seen the movie is just stupid. But, you know, marketing execs will be marketing execs.
We brought up, you know, the Birds of Prey movie because we watched it with my mother-in-law and her boyfriend, and her boyfriend starts describing Bird Box, but in the weirdest way. And he's like, oh, there's a bird and they go on a river, and
oh yeah,
like, what are you talking about? It's like, no, not that movie. But like, it's just a dissociation, so you can't even like try to market it right in any way.
Yeah, they should have just called it Harley Quinn.
Yeah, I mean, and I think we'll probably witness something like when the actual DVDs come out, because right now the film's only available digitally. But when the DVDs come out for this movie, I wouldn't be surprised if it's kind of like that Tom Cruise sci-fi movie, Live, Die, Repeat, that then got changed to Edge of Tomorrow.
Yes,
or maybe it was the other way around. I think
no, it is Edge of Tomorrow. I saw that in theaters. Yeah. I mean, people, that's apparently a cult classic, but I don't get it. It's good, but it's not that good, you know?
I mean, yeah, I think, I saw it before the internet got super duper hyped on it. And so I just remember as being like, oh yeah, this is pretty nice. This is something I want.
It's not a movie that will expand the viewership for DC, I don't think. It's definitely a movie that it's catered to the fans. And, you know, it's like sales expectations never meet stockholder expectations. Let's just get that right? So the fact that this is, I like the fact that the director kind of treated this movie as how the director for Aquaman treated his movie, where he was just like, fuck it, I'm going to go balls to the wall on this.
Hey,
and they did. You said that the budget was $100 million?
Yes.
I don't know where that $100 million came from. I think it's literally them paying that's strictly actor pay, because honestly, you could have did this movie on a $20 million budget.
Yeah, I mean, there were a couple of extensive set pieces that I think
The
would
Ace,
have
the
cost
Ace
them money.
chemical plant. That was probably the most expensive scene.
Oh, I actually thought that would be one of the cheaper ones because that was just all CGI. Just throw that shit into
Oh,
the
just
background.
let people
I mean,
work
I
overtime
mean,
for that, right?
Yeah, just abusing some poor Korean CGI studio company
Hey, they
overseas.
can work from home now, so why
Yeah,
not?
it's fine. But yeah, I do think that a lot of this went to the cast because I mean, when you have Margot Robbie and Ewan McGregor in a film together, I mean, that's at least 40 million.
Is
Probably.
Ewan McGregor? I think you're overestimating Ewan McGregor's. How much did he get paid for this movie? I don't think he got paid 20
I don't
mil.
know.
Well, there was also a lot of other celebrities that like they cameoed in it. So I mean, no idea how much they had to pay them.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. I really like when I look at that $100 million budget, I'm just like, that's because they paid like 5 people, like an extraordinary amount. But I get why Margot Robbie would get paid a good sum of the money. I mean, considering that she did the best job out of all of them, honestly. But I don't know, man.
Well, and also,
I just don't
to be
see it.
fair, though, she was one of the producers of the film, along with Warner Bros.
Oh,
I
really?
think her
Did she
company's
have
called
influence on
Lucky
like?
Charm.
Did she have influence on
Yeah.
like
Oh,
how the
yeah.
movie was
Oh,
made?
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, this was kind of like her pet project from the beginning. So
That's good. That's good.
yeah, I mean, and so it's her money, I guess, but also it's her money that then is going to be getting lost because I guarantee you that WB will be like, all right, well, we'll take the majority of the profits, you take the majority of the losses. Okay, sounds great. Okay, let's move on. But
I guess we'll see
we're
months
also,
from now.
you know-
We'll see months from now where everyone's pay got docked for being in this movie.
they just got fined. It's somehow even worse. Now, but before I move along too quickly, I have to assume that maybe, just maybe, there are some people out there who are either so morally scrupulous that they didn't want to pay the $20 to watch Birds of Prey and were going to wait until they could rent it, or they just didn't want to take the time to torrent this movie, whichever camp they fall into. So at this point, I think before we move along, a brief synopsis might be in order to help people kind of at least get a feel of what we're talking about.
Okay.
Although at this point, it might be a little bit too late. So
No, it's fine. It's fine.
for lack of a better time frame, I'm going to try and shoot for explaining the synopsis in less than 60 seconds. I understand that also synopsises should only take like one sentence, but like the summary would give away too much plot structure, and then that kind of kills the point of having a conversation. So whatever, mincing words is my point. The movie basically starts off with the Joker and Harley Quinn breaking up shortly after the events in Suicide Squad. And so with the Joker kind of out of the way and I think legally and cinematically obligated to not appear in this film, otherwise to cost the studio a fortune, it's the Harley Quinn show. So she runs afoul of the ruthless crime boss Roman Sionis, who also goes by the name Black Mask, and he is trying to get a diamond because a young rapscallion stole it from him. That kid's name is Cassandra Cain. So everyone's kind of on the hunt now for this girl because of the diamond that then she has smuggled. And along the way, Harley Quinn crosses paths with Diana Lance, Detective Renee Montoya, and the mysterious crossbow-wielding assassin Huntress, as well as Black Mask's top hangman Victor Zsasz. And they're all kind of trying to get to Cassandra Cain first. And then it's a lot of setup because then they all kind of collapse in all at once. I think I would be agreed that all three storylines eventually just kind of finally hit together into one big finale sequence that then is where we get the name Birds of Prey from.
And a one sentence synopsis: the race before she shits.
Yeah, I think
much what it
that's about right.
Yeah.
But by the way, if you're going to be smuggling a diamond, wouldn't a diamond just carve you up inside?
Yes.
I don't think like your organs could, because that was a fucking huge diamond
That
too.
would scrape down your esophagus, or just like go like flat and then choke you to death.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
huge.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I was fucking blasted. I got way too faded for this movie, and I didn't notice it until it was too late. And I remember the diamond being small, but I guess I was wrong because I was like, that doesn't look like $1 million diamond. What the hell? But yeah, I do agree. Like that whole. So I think we can now that you've covered the basis of the plot. One of the plot lines, like. I kind of want to go over it a little bit point by point, but I think one of the major things that I want to talk about in this movie is that right off the bat after finishing that movie, I gotta say the cop storyline could have nixed the whole storyline. Like introduce her in the beginning, and then she can pop up. You know how she kind of like intersects with them at certain points of the story? Could literally just be in those scenes and would have had the exact same impact, but probably would have saved you about 15 minutes of the movie. Because I was still just like, I don't know what the fuck she's trying to do the whole time. I think she was trying to get Sionis like in jail, but she was being like completely unprofessional and like all these other things. I'm like, no, I'm agreeing with your boss. Like, you need to fucking stop, you know?
Yeah, like her boss objectively did, fuck her over. But also, he raises a few valid points about how there needs to be a legitimate case before you start accusing one of the wealthiest families. Because there's this weird rule of double jeopardy that you can't be charged for the same crime twice. So he's raising some very valid points.
That's the OJ rule, right?
Yeah, buddy. Just gotta make sure that. Oh man, how great would it have been if OJ was the police captain in a cameo role?
Oh no!
It's like, well,
I gotta say, this movie with that character suffers from the same problem that Suicide Squad suffered with that one dude who was the boyfriend of Enchantress.
Oh yeah, Rick Flag.
Yeah, both
this
of them.
is Katana. She has a sword that captures the soul of her enemies.
Okay, but like that guy was supposed to be like the best military dude and whatever, right? He did fucking nada during the whole of Suicide Squad. All he did was get dragged off repeatedly by monsters, and fucking Will Smith had to step in and be like, save him or we all die.
There was moments in there where it's like it went mask off with United States imperialism and black sites because Rick Flag, you said his name is?
That's right. With 2 G's. So
What?
you know that he's just
Serious.
that much of an American.
Oh my god.
Right. So like his character, and to an extent Montoya's character, although Montoya plays it more comedically, I guess because she's in on the fact that this is actually a comedy movie and not an action movie.
She's also about 15 years too old, realistically.
Yes.
Compared to the other leads.
But like the fact that they take themselves too seriously and they don't stop and think for a second of what they're doing could be wrong is just hilarious. In this movie, it's kind of like for comedy reasons, or at least if you approach it that way. But in the first one, it's like, this is a serious movie, okay? Amanda Waller's the lesser of two evils, even though she killed an entire room of innocent people and then has 5 criminals, quote unquote, who got captured by the Batman under a bomb threat at all times.
Not just innocents, but like FBI agents. Like that's like resources you just literally killed off.
Yeah, and then like at the end, like Will Smith openly asks Flag, "You really think that we're worse than her?" And he's just like, well, I do what I'm told.
Yeah, no, I can't talk like that right now, bro. Thinking with my dick. Got to save my witch girlfriend.
Yeah,
that's what I'm doing.
But see, the best part about Suicide Squad, or I was gonna say Suicide Squad too, but the best part about the Emancipation versus Suicide Squad
12 years of Harley Quinn
is the fact that Emancipation was appropriately scoped. Suicide Squad gave you a world-ending threat in the middle of Gotham with Batman nowhere to be found.
Excuse me, sir. That's actually Midway City, not Gotham. That where they were flying to. It's the equivalent of Kansas City, Missouri.
It doesn't fucking matter, dude. It's a metropolis city that probably has superheroes in it. You know what I'm saying?
It's all basic versions of Chicago over and over and over again.
Yeah, if you wanted a movie like that, it needed to take place in like Saudi Arabia or some Middle Eastern country that we can't just be like, oh, why is there no superheroes here? You know what I'm saying? Not to mention
that would actually make sense. World-ending threats overseas, and that's why you enlist this black site kind of a team. Where then if they die, it's not even American casualties. So then they can act with impunity. Whatever. We're giving them ideas for Suicide Squad 2. Let's not do that.
But I was gonna reel it in by saying that because Sionis is just the right villain for this movie. It's hilarious because essentially he's a rich billionaire. Or not a rich billionaire, but like obviously a man of wealth who clearly is acting like he doesn't come from old wealth because he doesn't have any like mafia ties as far as we know. He's
trying so hard. He's trying so hard to like make himself a crime boss.
Yeah, he's like trying so fucking hard. But here's the thing. He just comes off as a cosplayer and it's hilarious. Because essentially, like, he's getting his money through like stock options and shit, and he's just doing all this in his free time. He's like, I'm gonna be a crime lord in my free time. Time to command an army
room of trophies. Like,
yeah, it's so hilarious, and he acts just like an angry white dude would. He's the most believable. He's one of the most believable villains I think we've seen on the movie screen in a while.
There was a rumor with his character. And again, it's very much a rumor, so take it for what it's worth. But in one of the original pitches for the script, Black Mask was going to, and the diamond instead of having bank account information, was going to have like his nudes inside the diamond. It's basically like a diamond full of dick pics.
What the fuck?
Like dick pics of like other like famous people and like extortion. Essentially is what it is. And so then when the kid like swallows the dick pic diamond, that was going to be like part of his motivation. So
I'm sure they couldn't do that because it was a little girl
that they did. Yeah.
Okay. Why would you take the time to get a diamond, to like steal a diamond and everything, have to look under a microscope to see the dick pics if they're even big enough? Like, one.
That's
two,
pretty baller, I'm not gonna lie.
Pornhub Premium is free right now. Why would you do all of that stepping?
It's extortion. It's extortion.
It's extortion and money all in
How
one.
can you tell it's his dick pic? How can you tell if it's other people's dick pics?
It's
like,
a rumor. I'm not going to go through the logistics of how this world would work right now.
That's why we're podcasting about it, so you can do that.
There's a man dressed up like a bat punching poor people right now. Like, oh no, the bad guy is doing a dick pic diamond. That's the thing. That's where we draw the line.
There's like
being ridiculous.
There's like a world Where's Waldo challenge of find Bruce Wayne's dick pic in the diamond.
That would be just the saddest dick pic in the world. It'd just be all shadows. Is what it is.
It's the tiniest one.
Can you imagine if it's intergenerational? Like, this was my great grandfather's dick pic. This is my grandfather's dick pic when he immigrated over. This is my father's dick pic. He gave it to me as he was dying. He told me, put your dick pic in this diamond, please. Fulfill your legacy.
The Wayne family just has a diamond of their own, and it's like, quadruple the size of the Bertinelli diamond, but it's like 75 generations of dick pics in it.
Also, shout out to you for knowing Bertinelli. That's the name of the family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the mob boss that they killed.
Okay, you're right. And they only did flash back to that scene like 7 or 8 times. So that didn't get old whatsoever.
Right.
Okay, so I mean, let's kind of go over kind of from the beginning. So I think that the funniest part about this movie is that we're supposed to look at Harley Quinn as the crazy one. You know what I'm saying? But she's not. Like, I feel like this movie did a really good job with deconstructing the entire superhero genre down to its bones and why villains act the way they do, quote unquote, on the villains, and why heroes are like just absolute self-righteous dumbasses who live in their own world. Because
I mean, it kind of shows like this is how Harley Quinn lived her life when she wasn't in, go boot super killer mode.
Yeah, it showed why she became what she became. And to be honest, it's relatable. Yeah, you're probably not going to dump yourself in a chemical plant or whatever, but you can understand where she's coming from with all this and why she turned into a life of crime. And I think
you can only lose so many egg sandwiches in your life before you snap.
Okay. I got to be honest with you. The utter fascination of the bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich is a New Yorker hallmark. Okay. Like it's unreal how good they got
that
it.
To me. Also, apparently the sandwich, because Margot Robbie got migraines from regular chicken eggs, the sandwich is actually made with duck eggs. So tell me, does that increase or decrease the desire as a New Yorker to have that sandwich?
Increase, baby.
Okay, gotcha.
It's more delicate.
I just like, it really seems like what people are lusting over is the bread and grease from the grill more than anything else.
Oh, dude, it's because you haven't done it. You have to go to a corner store in New York City and order a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich. You'll understand then. Like, it's just,
right.
It's an experience. I mean, like, I used to have little bacon, egg, and cheese as a treat when I was a kid. Like, that was great. I would go to the bodega in the morning before school, and if I had money, that was the prime thing to get, was a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich. And then I even had a friend who went to a different school, and he went to a different bodega, and he'd ask for it. Like, the thing that was over there was asking for it like smashed, where they would get the bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich and just smash it with a hammer and eat it.
Wow.
They would flatten it out with a hammer.
Yeah, like a panini almost.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was fucking great.
To be honest,
that level of flat. Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, like if Kelton did grow up in New York, that is what he would.
I would concoct something so much worse.
Oh,
like,
dude, the hot sauce. The hot sauce is when I knew like she knows what she's talking about. Because I used to eat bacon, egg, and cheeses. When I used to work at Bloomingdale's, New York, I knew someone who there was like a food cart that I used to order from, and it had bacon. I can get bacon, egg, and cheese sandwiches for like $2, which is pretty good, and have diced jalapenos in them. Or not diced, sorry, slices of jalapeno in them. So I used to add slices of jalapeno into my bacon, egg, and cheese and eat it. I would also put in ketchup on it too.
Okay.
I'm a sucker for ketchup on bacon, egg, and cheese.
See, I can't do ketchup. I don't have anything against ketchup on eggs. Like, I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, how that's stupid.
Monster.
Yeah, how could you? Because I mean, like, it's mostly just like vinegar more than anything else.
No,
like,
it's not.
Really? What's the
No.
ingredient of ketchup?
Yeah, why don't you have your wife school you since she's the one that makes the food?
Yeah, that's
like
right.
I make food. He cooks.
That's right. So the issue, I guess, or not the issue, but the thing that I really enjoyed about this film, food aside, was the action sequences, and then specifically the music cues for those action sequences, and that contrasts incredibly with Suicide Squad, because Suicide Squad had like 8 songs in the first half hour
Oh my
to
God.
let you know exactly how you needed to feel before you actually watch the scene. Whereas this movie let the scene build and then put in the music once you were already in that zone. And it's a little different, but it's kind of like having someone tell you the punchline to a joke before they tell you what the joke is, versus someone like absolutely nailing the punchline and giving you exactly what you needed on top.
Or like in the part where they're going down the like the lights around them, the tunnel in the
circus.
God, yes, in the circus when they're going with the lights down the tunnel, the music starts and then they start like bashing in heads.
Mm-hmm.
Forgot what the song was. But.
I the music cues, I wasn't too I just didn't pay too much attention to that.
You were too faded.
Yeah, I was much too faded. But I will say the action choreography was really well done. Another thing I noticed that I'm not sure if you guys did is that she didn't use non-lethal, or she used non-lethal weapons.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's weird that in the R-rated sequel to the PG-13 movie, Harley Quinn is full-blown PG-13 levels of violence for most people.
Now,
you know.
I might have thought about this far more than the producers and the directors and the actors did, but here's my take on it. Because when I was coming into this movie, I had the expectation of an ultra nihilistic movie that just was just like a very messy, probably super actiony, but hopefully better than Suicide Squad 1. And yes, it was. But also, just like, to me, her moving to non-lethal use means that that's the director's way of saying that she is becoming more human again. That she lost her humanity by being with the Joker. Because if you remember in Suicide Squad, she like slid on her motorcycle trying to get Joker's attention, and then while she was discussing the breakup with the Joker, she pulled out her big ass revolver, which, by the way, iconic, and then shot the truck driver, cold-blooded, dead. And even the Joker, Jared Leto, was all like, whoa, I'm not that crazy, jeez. But then, like, when, you know, after Suicide Squad coming into this movie and she starts using non-lethal weapons, that means that she's more in touch with her humanity than before, which I feel is progress for the character, and it's great.
And it's more like protection than like brutal murdering.
Yeah, she was basic, and like even the fact that her main weapon is the hammer, you know, versus just that big ass revolver, you know, that makes a world of difference. Because I mean, you can concuss somebody, yeah. I mean, you could bash somebody's brains out, you know, but she can measure the amount of force that she's using. So I think that was symbolizing like her, that she's changed from when she was the Joker.
I think they were also just trying to like bring it to the comics because she uses a hammer a lot, like a giant cartoony hammer.
Yeah, I also think
away from the baseball bat and baseball bat only.
Yeah.
That and the weird like Desert Eagle pistol she was carrying in Suicide Squad, and how now she has an even more cartoony revolver. Was it a revolver in this movie? I can't remember.
It was like a pump action shotgun that would shoot like.
I'm sorry. I was talking about like the actual pistol, not the.
You know, I didn't catch that. I don't remember.
Yeah, I love anytime a character has a pump action shotgun.
It wasn't a revolver. It was just a handgun.
Okay, well, unfortunate, but it is what it is. So.
Yeah, I think another thing to mention about the action sequences is that this was actually the most disappointing part for me. Not that they weren't bad, because I really enjoyed them, but I expected kick-ass.
Okay.
John Wick.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that though, I mean, much like how comedy is subjective, I think that, you know, the action sequences themselves can be of where it's you're either on board with the choreography setup that they kind of have, or you're not. And I do think that Kick-Ass's choreography had a little bit more grounded realism. You know, there weren't as many like fantastical backflips in it.
When was the last time you saw
watched-
Kick-Ass?
I mean,
Never?
probably like 6 or 7 years ago.
Okay, if you rewatch those scenes, where it was the first fight, which was basically him getting knifed in his suit, and then even the not Batman, but you know, the Batman copycat who
Big Daddy.
Big Daddy, yeah. Even when Big Daddy was being lit aflame and the action sequence that played out, like it's not even just realistic. It's hyper realistic, where the attention is focused on just how bloody and just how deadly the combat is, to where like it makes it hard to watch quite a bit of it. Especially if you start really thinking about it, you know, or develop a higher sense of empathy through the film and forget that, hey, this is just a film. But
yeah, I think that they kind of set the tone for this movie though with Black Mask, you know, when he's peeling people's faces off, and then, you know, he spares the one woman, but then she is crying and blows a snot bubble. Then he's like, whatever, ew, yeah, just peel that. So
That was most of his lines.
yeah,
Like,
it
that
was
was
tonally
his
like
catchphrase.
it was a mixed bag when it came to the tone of the movie, because sometimes it was taking itself seriously, and then other times it was just like, no, this is actually like a complete deconstruction of all the things you know and beloved in superhero movies, and it's actually a comedy, you know. I think it's all about your mindset as the movie goes, and I think, like as I said, the first half, man, that first half was kind of just like
Bleh.
like I was about to say meh. And then once it gets into the second half, you're like, oh, okay, no, not only is the action on screen good and like really fun to watch, but also like they're really going over like just how ridiculous these characters are. Like the Huntress, for example, who, by the way, is just Bruce Wayne if Bruce Wayne was born into a mafia family.
yeah, pretty much. I think what would be an interesting recut of the film, and it probably would clock at about 90 minutes or so, is if you just had as essentially the cold open Harley Quinn in her outfit walk into the police station and then start shooting up the place looking for Cassandra Cain. And then that sequence takes off, and then you do a couple of flashbacks to set the groundwork
Like what she
of what's
did
going
anyway.
on. Yeah.
Because she was like, oh, wait. Let me start at the beginning. Oh, wait. Let me start at the beginning. Like,
Well, yeah.
after we
That's
had already been
actually
through that
the
whole
major fault I have with the film. I still came off of this
we
film.
kind of go like 30
Flashback.
minutes. Well, I
Yeah,
mean, we go 30 minutes in, then it stops. Then for the next 20 minutes, we're catching back up. So then we're at about
really, it was
an
20.
hour
It felt
in.
longer. I was gonna say that
Yeah.
that whole by the time it started flashing back and going over everybody else's storylines, I was like, whoa, dude, I am completely lost. I don't know where I'm at. Thankfully, that stuff was all entertaining except for the Montoya part, the cop.
Yeah.
But like when she was like, whoa, I bet you're wondering who Cassandra Cain is. I was like, oh no, like I was like, this movie, I said out loud, I was like, this movie's a mess, like an absolute
honestly-
mess.
I honestly think that they were trying to like go opposite end from the whole beginning sequence of Suicide Squad, because they got really like bagged on for doing a whole big like intro for every character on and on and on. So I feel like they were trying to avoid that, but they also needed to do that because we didn't know these people in the movie. So they were just like, oh, well, since she's psycho, we'll just skip it around like she's scatterbrained.
Right.
And it didn't play out correctly, so it ended up bad again.
Yeah, I
And
feel
so
like
it's
the
just a repeat of
director.
Suicide Squad.
Yeah, the thing with Suicide Squad though is that the action sequences, like there's like maybe 4 action sequences in that movie, and like 3 of them were the same, where it basically turned into a cover shooter. And then ended with everybody regrouping and assessing the situation just to say, yes, Batman's still bad, we gotta go. You know?
Yeah.
Whereas in this movie, it's like the action sequences definitely added and were pretty funny in their own right, just because there was a lot of people who had fucking beef with Harley Quinn. Now that she no longer had the protections of the Joker, that's it. It's open season on her ass. And I think they did a good job with portraying that.
I know it's very cliche now because everyone is saying this, but well, not this specifically, but just how like every superhero movie would probably do better as a limited series TV show. But I really do think that if there was like a 6-episode TV series where it has this similar type setup, that it could be very, very entertaining. Of where Black Mask is the overarching villain, and he's kind of sending out various underlings who have beef with Harley Quinn, that then she kind of has to, like a platformer, level up each episode past and through, and then you can work on the other storylines.
That would have been cool.
I mean, again, there's a lot of ways to do this film. And I think the reviews in general kind of do reflect that. You know, this is sitting at basically a 6.5 out of 10 from critics on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's just above a 6 on IMDb. Letterboxd gave it a 7, which is interesting. I mean, I like the movie, but I think I like it more than most. But then it has like an 80% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is wild to me.
From audiences.
Well, yes, I'm sorry, from audiences. From critics, again, it's about 6.5. But I just thought that in general, the movie really kind of screams like a 6 out of 10. And there was a review I saw that made me crack up, that my only complaint is that it's not long enough. It was what one fan wrote about it. And I think that that's probably indicative of the fact that we didn't need the first half of the movie. And so once it finally got rolling, we would like to see more of the movie that we got.
The actual action scenes.
Yeah. You know, like all the wheels were rolling, because it just seemed like they took their time with it. But
yeah. So where do you land on a score? So you said you think it's a 6?
I think 6 is about right. I mean, like, I think there could be times when I'm watching it and, oh shit, like this is amazing, I'll give it like a 7, or like, this is just mediocre and everything's kind of rubbing me the wrong way, like 5. And so I think 6 is about right, is where I would give it. Because I mean, like, when it comes on the clips come on YouTube, I'm for sure going to be rewatching like the police scene and then the circus scene, but I'm not gonna care at all about like, oh, let me watch more Diane Lance as Black Canary.
One move I want to talk about is because you were talking about like it being like serious and like good with the action, but also fantastical and cartoony at the same time. I think one of the best like in-betweeners for that description is when she throws the bat down on the ground and it like spins and just whacks this guy in the evidence locker.
Oh,
like,
the cocaine part in the evidence locker was amazing.
Yeah,
where they started shooting the bags of cocaine and she snorts it in.
Yeah, I think it's after that she throws the bat and it roundhouses and like whacks this guy in the face. And it was just like, that's the one I keep imaging. I'm like, that was good. That was really good.
Where do you fall on the rating for the movie, by the way?
I think a 7. I really liked the action scenes. Like, I really liked the circus area and that one move that I just talked about. But again, I think that the intro just tried to like veer off of Suicide Squad, but ended up being Suicide Squad, with like going back and forth with the intro of
with its narrative structure.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna be way more forgiving than you guys are, and I'm gonna give it an 8.
Okay. Well, 6, 7, and 8. So there you go.
It's funny because you guys are basically my inner voices as I was rating this film, because I was teetering on giving it a 6. And then I was like, I think I actually like it a lot more than that. And I think the last like half an hour kind of like boosted it up by like 2 points in my head. And I was like, well, should I give it a 6 or should I give it an 8 or should I go in between and give it a 7? I landed by the end of it, as soon as the credits rolled, I said out loud, I was like, that's like a beautiful mess. It's a messy bitch, but my God, is she beautiful? And I think that's Harley Quinn. And I'm not sure if it was this movie or a different movie that I watched where they were saying like, men love crazy women, and I guess that's the truth. But I think that might have been in Suicide Squad actually. Yeah.
Jumbling them now.
Seminal film.
I think
classic.
The timeline, as you guys were saying, as how it jumped back and forth, hurt it quite a lot. And I think the cop, like I said, the cop storyline, you could have easily cut that completely off and just have the scenes where she like comes into the fray, and the movie would be the exact same. So for that, I dock it 2 points. But I came out of that with an 8 because although it's messy and I'm not sure if the whole like structure, the narrative structure of it was like that as like a hard wink to say like, this story's taking place in Harley's mind. But I don't think it's good. I think it's an excuse to be a bad director. But in doing so, like the script was still strong. The action sequences were fantastic. I think they could have been a little bit more hyper realistic, but by the end I was very satisfied, and it got pretty close to like kick-ass levels of violence, and I was very, very happy with that. I will say though, I think the deconstruction of these characters was done really well, because I mean, like, you really got a sense of like, this is Harley Quinn if Harley Quinn actually existed, and that cops and these other people that are out there are completely out of touch with the working class. Because I mean, even Black Canary's story, like, yeah, they were doing all these narrative trips and too, but I know we haven't really discussed Black Canary, but her story was really strong. She was completely relatable. Her mother helped the police with her superpower. And then she ended up getting killed, and the police scrubbed her off the records. And then
I thought it was bullshit that the Renee cop lady, she was like, "Oh well, that would never happen if I was there." And I was like, "Well, you were there. You've been on the force for a long ass time."
Exactly.
And,
yeah, I was like, that doesn't
said,
make any sense.
I worked with your mom. Okay, you can't do a double standard there, lady. Like, fuck.
Yeah, and she continued to mistrust her. Mom. She continued to mistrust her after that. It really wasn't until they were kind of forced to team up towards the end where she was like trusting of the cop. But I mean, she did what she had. Even after that scene, she still went to Sionis and worked for him. And it just go to show that the government and society let her down to where she had to turn to crime to like make her dollar. You know, she had to get hers. And the same thing for Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn started advertising herself as a mercenary because she needed to make money, and she can't exist in current society. She's a fucking wanted criminal. Of course she's gonna
finder of things.
Yeah, like I thought that was all well played, well addressed, and honestly, it was really fucking good. I had a blast. I give it an 8.
All right.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, and then this kind of takes us into the last real segment that I think we can talk about here is the hot takes section. So I mean, we've let people know what our very nuanced and extensive thoughts are on this film, but I think it's time to really, you know, if you were gonna give like the spiciest thing that you could say, but then still go ahead and defend, what would it be? So to kind of set the tone, I guess I'll go ahead and go first with saying that I like this film more than The Joker with Joaquin Phoenix. And I mean, I really like The Joker, but I think that what The Joker was trying to do, Todd Phillips kind of stumbled ass backwards into making something that was very good and very beautiful. But Harley Quinn movie kind of knew exactly what it was, and then was fully embracing that, at least by the end of the film, and found its strides. Like, I would be more down to see Birds of Prey 2 than Joker 2, I guess, would be another way of kind of phrasing that take.
I would be down to see Harley Quinn 2. or
Sorry,
Harley,
I should
Quinn
clarify.
2021 or something like that.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't want to see.
HQ 22. We could see that.
Yes.
It's already on the poster.
Hashtag HQ 22. So I guess if I had to respond to that take, I guess I can see that. I think it's way more cohesive than the Joker. Is it? I think the political themes of it is less prevalent. Therefore, it's not like my favorite out of the DC universe. But I think it's way more confident and evocative. So I can definitely see that take for sure.
Sure. I mean, Aquaman is, I think, clearly everyone's number one, undoubtedly, right? Okay, we can go ahead and move on. What about you, though? What's a take that you would have, or a thought that crossed your mind that you think?
If I'm gonna be honest with you, I guess I would have to go off of the whole SJW outrage thing and say that Margot Robbie isn't hot.
Okay.
I think she definitely has appeal. I think in the man, the Wolf of Wall Street, she was pretty hot there. But I think like just in general, she doesn't really have much of a body. And the fact that they weren't focusing on her sex appeal on this one, it kind of to me was kind of like, Nicole. I think it's Nicole Kidman in that movie Straw Dogs with.
I was literally about to make a joke about Nicole Kidman, so not from Straw Dogs, but man, that is some similar wavelengths there. My God.
Yeah. So like, I'm not sure if it's Nicole Kidman or Renee Zellweger or whoever it is in Straw Dogs. I guess you guys can bring it up in a quick Google search. But in that movie, they treat the country girl who went to the city, got successful, and came back, and is like the hottest talk of the town, and it's supposed to be the hottest woman in town. She's not that hot. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's not that hot on the outset. And it was like a really hard sell because you had guys like oogling and ogling over her as if she is the hottest piece of ass on earth or whatever in that movie. And I'm like, that's a really hard sell, dude. She does not have mass appeal. I can tell you that much.
Save that thirst for Rick Flag, by God.
Yeah. So
I think that's a good take. I think that's something,
Yeah.
It's certainly something that would make people, their eyes bleed a little bit. So
yeah,
I think that's what we're going for.
You can only sell a zoom in on a girl's ass, but for so long. You know what I'm saying? Like there's not much to sell there. I'm sorry.
Just start zooming in on her heart, okay? Come on.
You know how they say we only use 10% of our brains? Well, I think we only use 10% of our hearts.
What about you, Devon?
I think I'd put this at the top 5 of DC movies.
Yeah, I could see that.
I was gonna go number 1 earlier, but then I was like, oh wait, Kelton reminded me of Aquaman, and I was like, oh shit, never mind, don't put that above.
That is unironically one of her favorite DC films. So.
Oh, you want to know my unironic favorite DC film so far from what I've seen?
Go for it.
Man of Steel.
Oh, I haven't seen Man of Steel in a while. I'm willing to bet that if I rewatched it, I would really, really like it. Just because DC has gone so downhill so fast.
God.
So,
I mean, the fact of the matter is the DC universe, like, I kind of stopped with, like, I've caught a couple of films here and there. Like, I caught Suicide Squad, but I think, like, after 2016, I kind of checked out of DC for a while. And I think it was mostly because I think I might have caught a couple of films here and there. But once 2018 hit and I moved, actually, no, it was 2017. Once I moved from one state to another, 3 different DC shows were starting back up. And I started watching all 3 again. I was like, I'm kind of done with this. I just completely stopped watching DC for a large amount of time. But I recently did rewatch Wonder Woman because I think I caught like 90% of it, but didn't finish it on an airplane flight. And yeah, man, when Armand White said the Godfather of movies already came out and it's Man of Steel, I agreed.
Yeah, I think Wonder Woman
superhero movies, excuse me.
well, yeah. I'm sorry. I think that should go without saying. I think Wonder Woman is almost like the anti Birds of Prey, in the sense of Wonder Woman's first 2/3 were amazing.
I disagree heavily. Holy shit.
The last third of Wonder Woman was just another CGI whatever fest. I think the first 2/3 of Birds of Prey are not good, and then the last third is terrific.
Fuck you.
Now, okay, we can split hairs and go like half and half, or like first third versus last third.
I disagree with that sentiment because the way you're wording it, I would describe Batman versus Superman, like director's cut, where it's like the first.
That's all that was.
The first like 2/3 is absolute ass, and then once you see like Batman's all like, we're not gonna let Martha die, and then go after Doomsday and all that shit, like that's when the movie really started coming together. But then like the first 2/3, or I would actually say probably 75% of that movie is like hot garbage, at least in the theater. Yeah. Even in the director's cut, it's only like marginally better.
Can you imagine if someone did like a super that was only the good parts of DC movies? I wonder how long that would be.
Oh, dude, I would totally be up for that challenge now that we're in quarantine. Just straight up like recut all of these movies and take out all the shitty parts. Maybe you might have something coherent at the end of it. But I mean, like, if I'm gonna be honest with you, like, since I became like a true, like, I guess like socialist or whatever, in terms of like, I am no longer like suck dem. I am like a socialist or whatever. Having rewatched Wonder Woman, it's god awful. Like, I remember thinking like, it's okay, it's not that great when I first watched it, and then I rewatched it recently and I was like, no, this is actually trash. Because there are moments in that movie where Wonder Woman's politics, she's like a lot of people go like feminist queen, but she's like the ideal white feminism, because whenever she's challenged on her world viewpoints, she stays silent. Like, you'll have a Native American basically telling her to her face, yeah, I'm actually helping the white man out, but the white men were busy killing me before. And she just stays silent and then looks off into the distance and then has no fucking response. Meanwhile, she hasn't like at all know of any history of the outside world and isn't going, well, why is that? She's instead just being quiet about it. It's fucking like, terrible, dude.
The way it is.
Well, I think that will be if a good socialist podcast will have a reading series. I think it's only appropriate that then we try and do a watching series, or rather a hate watching series. So everyone just go ahead and hate watch Wonder Woman, I guess. And
garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah, buddy. All right. So I think that's going to go ahead and probably do it for an episode. We're cruising right now at a pretty solid clip. So what have you got to plug right now? What's going on in your world, Grav? What's happening?
So, of course, I do every week. I do a new Downtime Grift episode. Last week, I had Kelton over here on for a Joker episode where we reviewed different revisions of the Joker character throughout the years. Definitely had some spicy takes on it. And you know what? Because of that episode, you actually netted a higher favorability than Bo in our recent poll on frequent guest stars, and you've only guest starred twice. Listen.
Hot take.
It's all about the quality of guest, not the quantity. So I'm coming for that crown, Griff Shop.
Well,
who doesn't like Kelton?
I mean, I'm consistently voted as the least liked member of my own podcast. So,
and you're the second most liked member of my podcast.
So.
That's right.
Not from the people I've heard from. Everybody loves it.
I gotta say, it's funny because I asked my coworker what he thought about that episode, and he was like, "This is the second best episode of Downtime Grift," and I was like, "Really?" And then he told me what his first one was. I was like, oh, yeah, of course. That one's everyone's favorite. But yeah, so it was a success for sure. Other than that, I do stream on Twitch at AntiGrav Plays. I might start streaming some more. Just currently getting out of that depression COVID-19 lull that it seems like we all seem to be suffering from. The internet went from being extremely horny to getting into a shitposting lull, and now all of a sudden everybody is coming out of like a depression of sorts.
Emerging, from the cave of wonders and just talking about what they did during their sweet like 36-hour depression naps, where we're blossoming into these awful just horny cocoons. That's what's happening.
Yeah, especially after seeing your tweets, huh?
Yeah, that's right. Butterfly reply, guys. Everyone unite. We got this.
Speaking of tweets, you can catch me on Twitter at AntiGrav Plays. I'm also on Instagram at AntiGrav Plays too, where you can get kind of a behind-the-scenes look of things that I deem funny that are related to both the pod and the Twitch stream. As always, I'll pass the mic back over to you, Kelton.
Listen. Compared to how your voice sounds with how professional it is, this is no time for me to be doing any plugs. But I guess if you were to try and track me down, of course, you can find me on Twitter at Sex Confetti. You can find the podcast on Twitter at Gigo Podcast. That's GIGO Podcast. It's always cool whenever people rate us 5 stars or more. If you can, rate us 6 stars. I would love to see what that would do for our metrics. Also, go ahead, leave us a review. We're still working out some Kingston things. Having Grav here just has really just smoothed things over for this ride, which is very nice. But still working our way through all the way. So yeah, it's been absolutely terrific, man. Thanks so much for doing this,
comrades. Not a problem, and I hope you guys at home have a great night.
All right, deuces.